being chased, thrown on the run, and it is caught. Touchdown, Keenan Allen. What a grab.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. That's the warrior spirit right there, boy.
Huge sack by Joey Bosa.
90-yard touchdown. 90-yard touchdown.
It's going to be picked off at the 8-yard line by Derwin James.
Herbert sets his feet, takes a shot downfield, has Guyton. Caught! Touchdown, Chargers!
That's the greatest throw I've ever seen.
What's going on, Bolt fam? Welcome to the Thunder Down Under Chargers podcast. I'm Andy Prophet. That is Alistair Lloyd. How are you, mate?
Good, brother. The two of us again.
Good.
Been
We're
a
back.
hot minute.
Yeah, it's been a while since the Alan Prof two-man show. We are obviously one man down this week. One very soon to be... Oh, sorry, he is on very soon to be fatherly duties. The newest member of the TDU family due any time now. We wish both Jack and his fiancée Beck all the best welcoming their baby girl into the world. Very exciting times, mate.
Big time. Can't wait. We're sort of waiting imminently for the news. Waiting with bated breath to congratulate Big Jack and Beck. We love you guys, so good luck. Hope it's smooth.
Yeah, I reckon a couple of listeners might be awaiting the good news as well. I think it's been awesome to see. I've experienced the love and support myself this week, so I appreciate all you guys reaching out to Jack on his journey and me starting out mine with my partner. It's much appreciated, guys. It's, the love goes right back, so thank you. In the football
amazing,
world,
man.
it's very special. In the football world, it's like sleeps until Christmas, 7 or 8, depending on your time zone. Football's coming, second last show until we're reviewing week 1 football. But we've got to be patient. There's plenty to get stuck into on the show today. Probably no raps or Pan-American accents, I reckon. What do you think?
What? Who's going to cover poetry? Do you know any, Keats or Lord Byron, Siegfried Sassoon, perhaps?
Well, I left poetry off that little spiel because you regaled us with some Edgar Allan Poe. So I left that one off. But, I don't know what you've got stowed up your sleeve, mate. The 53-man roster has been announced. Game 3 of the preseason against the Niners review on the way. And we'll see how we go. Might finish off with a bit of fun, a bit of league-wide gear at the end. Before we get stuck in, guys, if you are enjoying what we're doing, give the show a like. Follow the channel if you haven't already. Stay up to date with us. Season 2023 is upon us, so join us for the ride. We appreciate you all. Thank you. All right, shall we start from the top? The roster, the 53-man, it's in. And right from the QB rooms, pretty surprising to see only 2.
First time I can remember, mate, at least for a long time, that we've carried only the 2 quarterbacks. And
Yeah.
especially with this new rule, where there isn't a small incentive to carry a third, you kind of get to cheat and have an extra guy dress on game day to try and avoid what happened to the 49ers last year in the playoffs. And Max Duggan got cut. I need to eat some humble pie that Kev Diego and others politely didn't remind me about, but I went into bat for the use of the 7th round pick. My argument was, have a flyer. If it hits, so be it, but it doesn't look as good if you decide to cut bait on that pick during training camp before week 1. So I think I'm going to have to very rarely admit defeat on that one.
Yeah, I should have, of course, started by listing the position and the players. Justin Herbert and Easton Stick, obviously QB and QB1 and QB2.
Trouble if you don't know that one, isn't it? You almost should just switch off right now.
Or stick around, we might get a fan.
Learn a thing or two, yeah.
Very surprising. It has been a while. I want to delve into this a little bit later on. But yeah, it has been a while since we've seen a draftee get booted that off-season and us only going in with 2 QBs. Did it for a while with Phil Rivers. That was a different thing. He was never missed a game. All right, running backs. 4 of them, Austin Eckler, Joshua Kelly, Isaiah Spiller, and Elijah Dotson. What do we think, Al? I guess the way that the moves went across the offseason with Larry Roundtree getting the boot, and obviously after this, Elijah Dotson showed up in that game against the Rams. The writing was sort of on the wall. Do you think 4 is a lot?
Yeah, I think we've seen what happens is when you make that decision, you lose one elsewhere, and we'll get to that in a second. But hey, one of only 2 undrafted free agents to make the roster, the kind of trend of the team, and Telesco takes pride in it. It continues. I thought Dotson earned it. I mean, week 1 was sublime. Week 2 was shit house. And against the Niners, I thought in the second half, he showed enough on not just like 3 runs that, hey, he's got some wiggle. He's probably got a bit more speed than Spiller. Look, we know that these things aren't set in stone, and there could be more churn and change in the next few days. But good story for the young man out of northern Colorado. And your boy, Andy, Xander Horvath. We were worried, or we didn't know what to think. Never in doubt.
Never in doubt, apparently. Yeah, it was a bit surprised. Saw him on maybe a couple of snaps over the weekend, and they've obviously got him in the plan, so cool. Big special teamer. He's an athletic unit, so I mean, you've got to find a way for him some way. And special teams is bossing, so maybe it's guys like him and some of the linebackers that we'll get to who are standing up. Wide receiver room. No big surprises, I guess, from those, except for maybe the quarterbacks being one less. I'm going just over the ones that we've just gone through before we get onto the wide receivers. No real surprises, so we can kind of just let that play out. Wide receivers 5, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, Quinton Johnston, and Darius Davis, who will also undertake the punt and kick return duties. We're a bit light in this room as well. In this room compared to being heavy in the running back room.
Interesting. Like, even if you keep 6 wide receivers, you probably don't dress all 6 on game day. So that last position is kind of some cover in case you need to make some moves because there's an injured player. Say, someone's sore during the week.
There's a guy who's on the pup list, Jalen Guyton, ineligible to return until week 5. The pup list, Selzy, if you're listening, is the physically unable to perform list. So he'll be there in a few weeks' time.
He will be listening to one of our best mates and listens religiously. Great support. Doesn't know what we're talking about. Nope. Just listens.
So excuse me for pointing that out. But look, that just sort of feeds into your point, mate. Sort of not having to name a 6th wide receiver. As you said, we've got another guy who's on the pup list as well that could move back into the fold. So there might be a little bit of fluctuation with some of their position. Just the initial listing of the roster shouldn't cause grave concern because, oh God, we had injured wide receivers. Why are we only carrying 5? Like things, it swings and roundabouts. What I did notice, I could be wrong, but I thought I read that the Chargers actually released Keelan Doss. And waived the rest of them. Does that have any effect that you know of signing him onto the practice squad or going through the waivers? So I've dropped You've dropped the concrete bomb. Boots on you, mate.
I'm going to have to consult my note. This is what happens when I do a presentation at work. I'll just take that question on notice. Thanks, Andy. That might be the domain of our great friend Kyle D, the distinction between the two, whether it has any impacts. I understand, though, that Hightower's essentially been given his marching orders and told he's not going to be a candidate for the practice squad, whereas Doss might be, is the rumours we're hearing out of Chargers camp. Surprised about that at all? I know there was a lot of kind of Hightower pop during training camp. Do you think he ever had a chance?
I thought the proof was in the pudding. Yeah, look, I was excited as the next Chargers fan to see what sort of wide receiver depth we were going to have, whether QJ would be decent, would he push for the wide receiver 3 spot? What was Darius Davis going to provide? And Hightower was the guy providing. He had the stats, he had the tutties in camps and training drills. But when he got on the field, he kind of sucked. So I have no qualms with him giving his marching orders. And I thought Keelan Doss was the guy that actually showed something.
Me too.
Probably has that big size. Maybe you'd want a little bit more variation in your body types. But yeah, I think he's the only guy, Keelan Doss, that I'd be keen for having on the practice squad. Hightower, no. Bynum, and maybe at a stretch, but
maybe.
Hope not.
No big surprises to that room.
No, not
it's a good sign for its strength when they're not feeling like they need to carry a 6. They've got a stable 5. Guyton can add some kind of speed in the middle of the year, pick everyone up a bit. We know him and Herbert have a connection. So arguably the strongest position group on the roster heading into the year.
I tend to agree with you. We'll save more Darius Davis offerings on the offensive side of the ball for a bit of that game breakdown. All right, tight ends. 4 of them: Gerald Everett, Donald Parham, Trey McKitty, and Stone Smart. Stone Smart. There's 4 of them. Okay, what do you think?
Well, I think this is where the Chargers organisation fails the test. I was saying, nope, fail. You can repeat next year. This was something I was talking about.
They were sort of destined for that kind of grading, weren't they? The way that the position was approached in the off-season, which was left out in the stone cold nothing.
We've become accustomed to at least a couple of head-scratching moves on roster cut day or final 53 roster day. This is one of those ones that was a bit disappointing, although never really in doubt. We heard Hunter Campmoy had been cut a couple of days ago. McKitty has not earned his position. I've got a rule: 3 full seasons for players unless grave incompetence has been displayed. And I think just given how bad McKitty has been years 1 and 2 and how little he showed all through preseason, in every game he was bad, I think a good team just makes the cut there and says, well, you have not earned your spot. Stone Smart, interesting one, looks athletic, looks likely. I promised that I would come up with a Stone Smart song, if he made the team. This is not the week. I'm going to qualify my statement and say that he has to survive for the next few days and properly be like a 53 to start week 1. Buys me a bit of time to think about the song. Any listeners, if you've got a request, chuck it in the comments. I'll take it on board. We know what Jack doesn't want it to be. And we had a chat with him the other week, but we'll save it.
Fast Car, apparently his least favourite song, which blows my mind. But
outrageous. Shocking taste. What did you think about Trey and Stone Smart?
You know what I think about Trey. I think if any tight end showed anything, I thought it was Stone Smart. Mm-hmm. Am I surprised that they've got 4? A little bit. Am I surprised that McKitty stays on? When you think about it philosophically from the Telesco narcissist kind of like egomania thing, he's not like getting rid of him. He's not conceding that defeat for such a high pick, 3rd rounder. 4, I'm just like not really comfortable with this group, and I thought it was going to be an issue early on in the off season, and they just did not address it, and it's a big fail for me, the tight end room.
And did you see the Eagles made a swift move to trade
Alberto?
Maybe they wouldn't trade to us because we're a division rival, but I mean, look, I hope we're kind of watching the tight end market. I know Steve Hagland on Twitter's kind of posted a few potential names there. None super have jumped out to me, but I mean, we really don't have a quality blocking tight end on the roster. So hopefully they're keeping their eyes peeled, either the waiver wire or a trade.
Yes, I hope so. All right, on to the offensive line. We've taken 9. So our starters from left to right: Rashawn Slater, Zion Johnson, Corey Linsley, Jamari Salyer, making the shift across from his step-in role when Slater was injured, and Trey Pipkins on the right. Backups: Foster Sorrell is the main backup tackle, Brendan Jaimez as the sort of flex, Will Clapp as Corey Linsley's backup at centre primarily, and rookie Jordan McFadden makes the team. First of all, I think we're all pretty happy with the starting 5. What do you think about Brendan Jaimez and Foster Sorrell making it over, let's say, maybe Zach Bailey?
Probably the most disappointing decision of the day. He couldn't have played any better, Zach Bailey, in either spot, right guard or right tackle. He basically dominated every chance he was given to perform. 88.5 was his PFF grade across the 3 games in the preseason. Now, Telesco spoke to the media today, and Daniel Popper asked him about it. Basically, Jaimez, Bailey, what's going on? He said, they play different positions.
Yeah.
So what, indicating that Hymas is viewed as centre / guard, and Bailey is viewed as guard / tackle. And just looking at the 9 we did take in, they prefer the position flex with Clapp as an extra guy who can play guard and a bit of centre if you need it. However, I'd say that's not the correct question. That's a bit of a misnomer. I'd say false dichotomy, Telesco. You toyed. I'd say Foster Sorrell is the guy that you don't pick because of how he played in the preseason. I'd say your third tackle is Sawyer, and then you're really talking about Bailey as your fourth tackle / guard. So I keep Hymas if you want. Don't keep Sorrell is the way I would have approached it. What about yourself, mate?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I heard on another Chargers show about Foster Sorrell needing to do more work, sleeping in Duke Manyweather's basement and potentially just eating his shit in order to become a good tackle. So good gags. There you go. 9's probably the right number. I agree with you with Zach Bailey. I thought he was as good as can be, and Foster Sorrell is not.
Well, he probably won't clear waivers. That's the other relevant point.
Yes,
we want Bailey to make the practice squad. I think he's probably played so well he might land on a 53.
Yeah. I actually took Telesco's words of they play different positions as like a positional flexibility thing, maybe suggesting that Bailey was restricted to playing tackle, or they saw him maybe just playing tackle, whereas Jaime he's sort of a big guy. He can kind of move around a bit, but maybe you're right. The way that they're looking at it with Foster Sorrell being a higher graded tackle than Zach Bailey is just, they see something that we don't, I guess. All right.
All I could say is that they say Sorrell plays left, and we haven't seen Bailey play left tackle. He's only played right tackle and right guard. That's all I can really consider. And maybe a quick comment: Jordan McFadden, pretty solid. Good on him. I feel like he made some strides each game he played in the preseason.
Yeah, agree with you there. I think we're not questioning his position at all. That's a really fun addition to see how he sort of played and how he grew as well. He looked a little lost early, and then really sort of found himself there. All right, on to the defensive side of the ball. Defensive line, 6 players: Sebastian Joseph Day, Austin Johnson, Morgan Fox, Christopher Hinton, Scott Matlock, and Nick Williams. Tito Obonia on the pup list, and I'll start out. They've taken experience in Hinton over potential and athleticism in probably the biggest name to see off, Jared Clark. Missed out, and Hinton sort of cleaned up a couple of Clark's flushes and pressures. Hinton got a sack off one of Jared Clark's awesome breakaways in the Saints game. He's an absolute baller for his size. So they're taking the experience there over, a rookie. We've already got Scott Matlock on the roster as well, so that'd be 2 of them. And we've got a pretty injury prone, so there's a bit of sense in that safety, the security rather of that signing or the way that they've sort of structured that. What do you have anything further to add on the sort of those? There's those 3 mainstays, the first 3 I mentioned, and then the other 2. Nick Williams, is this guy like a real thing?
He's a real man. He's a real boy. I think, look, contrary to, Zach Bailey's situation, I think Jared Clark is a chance to clear waivers and land on the practice squad, in which case the way we've structured this does not bother me at all. Good point. I thought you made a great point. Like, it is a position where, grown man strength and all that, this is a rookie. Showed that, I thought he held up against the run better than Hinton or Moe did myself, but maybe they just feel like that's against backup players, and you want veteran experience in real games. Maybe they're very confident that he will slide and make it to the practice squad, because there's something to work with in Gerard Clark for sure over the next 2-3 years. We've already done to death how he's a real nose tackle, whereas guys like Nick Williams, not so much. We've got a lot of 3 techniques, maybe offer a bit more pass rush, but maybe struggle on those double teams on early downs against the run. So I still think this is our most problematic position group. Not a lot done really over the off season. You throw a 6th round pick at it, So I don't know. It was a record-breaking poor run defense last year. They haven't picked up bigger bodies in the final 53, so it's running it back again, hoping it's kind of linebackers and just internal improvement. Big risk.
Big risk. Although, as we saw from the game, which we'll get into, Staley let DA call the shot, so maybe he'll just go, hey, it's his call. Turns the corner into year 3, becomes cool hand Luke with the press and throwing his mates under the bus.
Yep.
The Staley we never thought we'd see. Yes, I think you're right. I think Clark will clear waivers. We'll just see what happens. Hopefully these guys stay healthy. I saw SJD got a sack today in simulation. That's good, getting some pressure up the middle. We'll see what happens. Point to make, fan favourite CJ Okoye automatically now on the practice squad, I believe, through the International Player Pathway Program. He clears waivers and becomes the legitimate 17th practice squad member. So that's part of the condition with taking those guys on. We get an extra practice squad guy, which is good. The team love him. Telesco spoke really highly of him. Works really hard. This is an absolute passion. So he's the kind of guy that you want around, and he's pretty athletic for. I think Telesco called him lean. I don't know if that's probably the right word, but no. I've seen him build at various heights and sizes. A bit like the Big Show. Is he 7 foot? Is he 6'8"? What's going on? Definitely not 6'8", but 6'6". I think 315, and he's a stout 315 for 6'6".
SJD said he clocked over 350 on the scales.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
I mean, it just depends how much he's eaten. Or
might have been the Homer Simpson belly on the towel rail.
The towel rail.
Dad, towel rail.
Gets everyone the old towel rail. Can we give like a Jack take on this? Like, it's the organisation. It's really important for the leadership to have. No idea what the voice I'm doing is there. For absolutely woeful.
That's Jack's American accent.
Play on.
All right. Edge 4, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Chris Rumph, Tuli Tuipulotu. No surprises there. Were you surprised to see that Kemp was waived fast, like before everyone else? Like, we had him around last year. He was pretty good against the 49ers. I think he forced that fumble that Leonard recovered.
Yep.
Just seemed like it seems weird how they how it sort of works, where you can watch, like, they know what's going on almost before preseason. They just want to sort of test it out and change those maybe 48 to 53 numbers. Just see how they can mix those last few positions up. But you see stuff where you're like, oh yeah, and then bang, he's out the door days before the big list changes. Is there any kind of your thought on that?
I've heard it suggested it's done as a favour to the player to give them a slight head start on doing the rounds of teams. I've heard it suggested. I don't know why your team would do that. If they want to keep him on the practice squad, I don't know.
Is that your way of saying you're shit, but you're not that shit?
Yeah,
all the best.
I guess sort of it is. Yeah, it is. It is champing him. But Carlo Kemp, this is, and we'll get to this later. This is why this preseason it kind of feels like no other. We're cutting or waiving players who are, dominating preseason. We're talking 85 plus PFF grades for what that's worth in the elite category. That's not the Chargers. That's not previous Chargers preseasons. We're usually scraping the barrel to find a couple of guys to make the roster. No longer, which is great.
Yeah, depth lineups forcing fumbles on first team offenses. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty rare Chargers gear. Tuli Tuipulotu has been really fun to watch.
Yep.
He is a student of the game, and he has the tenacity and the focus that I think Chris Rumph really lacks. Chris Rumph always just seems like he's a jovial guy, but I think he's just a bit of a joker. And I think Tuli is going to surpass him quick smart. You watch. Hot sauce.
No nonsense.
5 linebackers: Eric Kendricks, Kenneth Murray Jr., Diane Henley, Nick Neiman, and Amen Ogbongamiga. No real surprises there. Diane Henley has been very impressive. Very, very impressive. Not so impressive on Truth or Dab.
Struggled,
He
didn't
bit
he?
into that first wing, and his whole world changed.
Super entertaining guy, though.
He
Like,
would have told his deepest secrets to avoid eating another one of those wings. Mind you, QJ on that episode wasn't that much better. He had a lot of ice
there's a
cream.
bit of a straight man kind of like Abbott and Costello vibe there. Like they worked off each other really nicely, I thought.
Yeah, that's it. They just wanted each other to suffer. Just eat your damn wings. Safeties, 5. No surprises. Number-wise, we've got some solid. You've got ones.
Oh no, I was going to add. I was going to add a final comment because we might not speak about him ever again. I thought Blake Lynch, from the day he was signed, was outstanding. Very close to outstanding. He made a sack. He's kind of making bulk tackles. He played on special teams. He did himself an injury against the Saints. I don't know if he seriously would have pushed the 53 because they do really like Neiman and Ogbong Bamiga as core special teamers. I'd love to see him on the practice squad. If, for whatever reason, you suffered a season-ending injury to one of those 4th or 5th linebackers, I don't think the drop-off between them and Blake Lynch is much at all. I was quite impressed by what I saw. So shout out to Blake.
Yeah, it's a position group that us on the show have spoken a lot about not being important in Staley's scheme, whether that's true or not. Really seen a lot of improvement from the linebacking group this year, even without Kendricks on the field or Murray for most of the part. Did he play at all in the preseason? No. Nick Neiman's flying around, making awesome tackles, hitting hard, same as Arman. Diane Henley's everywhere. He was great in the 10 snaps that he played.
Well, Arman made a touchdown-saving tackle against the Niners in their first offense earlier.
Yes,
Ayuk
he did.
Landed in a
Ayuk,
blender.
he got him down in the
JT
second.
Woods with a bad miss tackled, and Ogbong Bamiga kept him to the 4
Save it for the segment!
Sorry, mate. Play on.
Playing around. Yeah, and good depth as well in that sort of linebacker edge group. Ty Shelby is a notable one. I noticed him a lot. 59 flying around against the Niners.
Yep.
Mikael Jones as well did pretty well. They're just camp bodies. Blake Lynch was a good one. We've signed guys like Nick Vigil in the past, and Blake Lynch just looked like a dude who was just way better. I don't know, maybe Troy Reader was probably above Blake Lynch, but
I think that's fair.
and an outlier to what I've just said, but
Bit bigger.
yeah, there you go. We'll see what happens. He's on waived, injured, or however that one works. So they either reach a set on, or we put him on the practice squad, and he gets better. Onto the safeties. 5 safeties. Derwin James, Alohi, Gilman, JT Woods, Raheem Lane, and AJ Finley. And as Jack said today, who the hell is AJ Finley? Well, mate, he played 50% of the snaps on defense and 50% of the snaps on special teams. Tackled a lot, but five's a lot.
Jack's just watching the
think?
guys up front. That's why he's all eyes on the
That's true.
trenches.
He's just a
Does
trench.
not care. I think I'm going to just reel off some numbers because he didn't jump out to me too much watching. I noticed him pop up here and there. Look, at 188 pounds, his build weight, that's going to put you like in the bottom 2nd percentile of safeties. Interestingly, he lined up as free safety on 43 of his 76 snaps, 24 in the box. So that's, about 2/3 of his snaps deeper. That makes sense when you think of Raheem Lane as more of the box safety type. So this is kind of like, adding a 5th safety if you want it. This guy's a bit more comfortable out in space. And as you said, Andy, he was a 4-core special teamer. And by that we mean kick return, kick coverage, punt return, punt coverage. And he had the 3rd most snaps in the preseason on special teams, 77.9 PFF grade. So didn't really put a foot wrong. I know he didn't flash, but he was solid on defense and he was solid on special teams. So from that vantage point, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, it seems like a lot on paper, but when you look at the contribution from him and Raheem Lane on special teams, and I probably noticed Finley more on special teams, but Raheem Lane flies around as well. So they both have that that contribution. JT Woods, I guess I don't know. If we're playing in three safety sets, are you feeling comfortable with JT Woods being the free safety if Gilman's out? He's been injured a little bit in the preseason.
I'm
You
feeling more
comfortable with
comfortable than
JT
I
Woods?
was week 17 last year. That's for sure. I think he's had a really good training camp and preseason. Are there still things to be concerned about? For sure. There are still some missed tackles. He's a bit slow to react, but
That was a bad missed tackle on Ayuk.
it was a bad one. Really bad.
That was a bad one. Real
You
soft.
can't do it. It's going to be a touchdown in the NFL, like in the regular season. That is touchdown. And
The fact that Amen got him was crazy. I was like, God, that was like I believe that jacket belongs to Mr. Gilmore. He's chasing after him. But he got him. He got the jacket. Good on you.
Oh man, love it. We've got Simpsons. We got Adam Sandler going on. We're just having a blast without the big fella. I don't know if.
No Henry Lawson tonight, mate.
No, it's coming. No, it's not. I do.
It's not.
It's Banjo Patterson on the way. I look, 5 safety surprises me a lot, mainly because I thought Mark Webb. There's some kind of internal power struggle that's happened here. Mark Webb is Staley's guy, for sure. Always talking about him, and they've gone with a guy most Chargers fans have not heard of at all. So not sure what's going on there. Again, though, we saw last year Fehoko made the 53, then he got cut the next day. These things can happen. I'm not sold that Finley's on the 53 in a week's time. We'll find out.
Tend to agree with you. Yeah. I feel like the face of the Staley-Webb relationship has been tethered by lack of availability on Webb's behalf. I thought he actually played quite well on special teams in the preseason, here and there. Mainly, I saw him make a couple of good tackles against the Niners.
Yep, me too.
But hey, if you're not available, who knows? Maybe they'll sort something out, and that will be a swap in the next couple of days. I tend to agree with you. I don't think Finley will be around next week, but put in some good effort, so good on him. Rewarded for that. Cornerbacks 5. JC Jackson, Michael Davis, Asante Samuel Jr., Dean Leonard, and Jasir Taylor. No real surprises here. Cam Brown played well.
Yep.
Mullen
played
he'd probably
well.
be. He'd probably be a candidate for the practice squad. I thought Dean Leonard really kind of usurped Jasir Taylor this preseason. Jasir just it didn't feel to me like he got better. There were a few coverage issues in that second game against the Saints. And then he really showed way too early on a nickel blitz. Kind of gave that away. Yeah, I don't know. They're different sort of body size. You sort of see Jasir playing that slot role, and Dean's got a bit of size. He's got a bit of range on him, so who knows? No real surprises with numbers or players there, mate?
No, not a lot to say on that one, mate.
How are you feeling about the group?
Look, Jasir's kind of form, and again, this is another Kyle D kind of point. That's a position that team, if they really want to get aggressive, can they find another guy to play star, another guy that they might like in the slot, just in case Jasir Taylor's poor form carries over? There are still these guys like Desmond King who've been on the team before, who kind of hanging out there. Can we find another guy of the kind of Jasir Taylor stature, which is getting 200 pounds, who might be that 4th or 5th cornerback instead of Jasir? Knowing the Chargers probably not, because he did play reasonably well last year for a rookie, but the preseason's been a bit wonky, I think, from Jasir.
Yeah, failing to get your head around in coverage just looks really rookie stuff, and he was starting to show a bit as the season got on last year, so a bit disappointing. Specialists, the last 3 to round out the 53, punter J.K. Scott, kicker Cameron Dicker, and long snapper Josh Harris. Shout out to Dustin Hopkins. He had that quad game where he won us the game with an injury. He got traded to the Cleveland Browns for a 7th round pick. Would have
2025.
2025 7th round, was it? It's absolute trash. It's almost as trash as not cutting him earlier and saving like the 1.125 million that we ended up putting in his pocket before shipping him out anyway.
Yeah, no. So I think from a cap perspective, that's ended up being a wash because of the fact that he did get traded. So that's ends up
So
being a wash.
they've got to pay him that salary now. That's part
Yeah.
of that contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was a good conversation that was on Bolts from the Blue again about was it foolish not to have cut him back in June, and the risk, like they risked this $1.1 million potentially if you couldn't trade him, right? And they had to cut him. Then you would have had to eat it. But
Yes.
Kyle made the point that the 1.1 mil was subject to an injury guarantee, and we don't know if because of the fact that he couldn't, like he was in and out of training camp, there could have potentially been a dispute there if he was cut in June and he claimed he couldn't pass a physical, and then maybe that 1.1 million becomes guaranteed. And there are other reasons why it helped to keep him around. There's the kind of cultural consequences of cutting the guy. You know, you either buy into that warm and fuzzy locker room stuff or you don't. But teams, I think, are loath to cut someone who's put it all on the line. And like last thing they did for the team was get injured, winning a game. And then having him around also protected against any risk that Dicker either got injured or became shit in the preseason. And also you
Became
leverage...
shit.
You never know. These kickers are head
Yeah, you're
cases,
right.
half of them. They change like the wind. And then the last one is...
You doing
team-
weather chat?
Bit of weather chat. Good chat. Lift chat. Leverage increases the closer you get to week one in case other teams, have injuries to their kickers. So, I don't know. Maybe it wasn't so foolish. Whatever. He's gone now. All the best to you, Dustin. Back off. And we move on with Dicker the kicker.
Yeah. He's been awesome. So happy with that. No surprises. Let's get it. Special teams ranked number 1 in the league for the preseason. That's fickin' good. Okay. That's the roster.
That's it.
Let us know in the comments what you guys think. Do you think we've whiffed and missed out? Do you think there's guys that we've cut that aren't going to clear waivers that we really should have had on our 53? It's contentious, and I think a lot's going to change in the next few days or week. So don't get too cutthroat about it. All right. Chargers beat the 49ers in week 3 of the preseason, and that was a pretty fun watch. We watched it together, mate. Had a couple
We're
of...
making a habit of this.
Yeah. Well,
Had a
that's the
few
thing
together.
with Dazen, because we split an account because, it's not cheap. You can only have 2 screens. So Jackie boy's off watching in Adelaide, and us neighbours have to share a
Margarita
couch
Central it
and
is. Yep.
share a few beers and a couple of very strong margaritas while we get through watching Easton just stick to all right, and then Max Duggan just probably not deserve himself a spot on the roster.
Yeah.
That's how it comes down to.
There weren't too many big takeaways, were there, mate? I mean, I thought Duggan...
But look, let's keep it to stuff that, like, let's talk about we've spoken about the guys who were probably unlucky to miss out on the 53. Let's talk about things that will be relative to looking towards season 2023.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think one big one then, and massively interesting, is play calling and the running game.
Yep.
This is now 2 out of 3 games we've rushed for over 200 yards. Had a quick look at what the play calling was like. 31 rush attempts in that game. They only passed for 30-something yards. Looking at the type of runs too, they had 23 zone runs and 12 gap or man scheme runs. So Kellen Moore went full 49ers on the 49ers. He's running a lot of outside zone, a lot of inside zone. And if you look across the 3 preseason games, that balance again of the 76 called runs, 45 zone, 31 gap. So maybe that gives you some indication of the plan and how they like to run. Definitely suits Josh Kelly. It will suit Austin Eckler. Not having to squeeze between one gap.
Yep.
You're making decisions cut and go. I love the running game, mate. I love the run blocking in this one. And to run on that team, which is traditionally really good up front, was one of my big takeaways from the game, irrespective of the result.
For sure. 600 odd yards off 87 attempts. We're almost going at 7 yards per attempt and 5 rushing touchdowns over the preseason.
Beautiful.
The 41 rushing attempts that we had for the game just shows, like, sure, it wasn't like attractive football, but when Max Duggan's your QB and you've got a lead and you can do this sort of thing, it's at your advantage to be able to run the ball, and it was just really great to see us lean on the run game. It's not really something that you experience too much as a Chargers fan rather. Josh Kelly sent one to the house. That was super
Whoa,
exciting.
how good was that? Yeah, mate, that got me out. That got us off the couch. Few noises, few high fives, a bit of drink spillage going on, couch ruined, carpet screwed. It was good. It was good gear.
Yeah, and that's just the design of Kellen Moore's offense. It is designed to work. It's one, and Kelly said it afterwards. It's one cut and gone, and he executed, and bang, he's like, I got wheels, I got gas. See ya.
Do you know who else
He's signed up.
executed on that play? Zach Bailey, but so did Hymus, and that was okay. So great run, Josh Kelly, super likable guy. One of my favourite interviews. So good on you, mate.
Yeah, very energetic interview. Likes to explain things in potential past dialogue. And I was like, hey, look, if you're going to do it, do it. And then I was like, hey, if you can do it, you should do it.
Love that chat.
That's good. We'll go to Easton Stick. What did you think of his game? He looked good at times. He was accurate, but I think you got to look a lot deeper than the stats to sort of get a feel for how his pocket presence has gone from the first week through the second into the third, and he's played against progressively better opposition.
Yeah,
but is there a lack of quick out options for him? Does he like just hanging on to the football? Does he enjoy being engulfed by a scrum of man?
He might enjoy the stick hit. You never know. But look, we're a bit limited with our DAZN. At the moment, we can't access the coaches' film, so we're a bit kind of tied to the broadcast to see where the hot routes are. But Easton Stick is holding the football too long, brother. We're going like 2.75, 3 seconds. Beat sacked. So there were 2 sacks in this one, and I thought it was a real, like, the last 2 games have just told me again, oh, okay, look, maybe we don't have a backup. And then you're seeing Chargers Twitter talk about Will Greer and, other quarterbacks we might sign instead. So look, Easton, strong start, but I wasn't super impressed myself with how he went. And Max Duggan kind of didn't even bother with the passing, did they? They were just like, use your legs. Both really good athletes. Both can take off and run. That ain't going to cut it long term, I don't think.
Yeah. We've spoken a fair bit about the likes of Sorrell and Pleasance, who are relative bums on the offensive line, giving up sacks. Anything else you want to talk about offensively, position, any players? I mean, we spoke about Stone Smart as well when we talked tight ends.
Yeah,
do
popped
need
up.
more kind of...
Yeah, popped up. We need more tight ends for sure. I do want to kind of round out by saying I've noticed that our jet sweeps have never looked this clean or dangerous. That's a big takeaway for me.
Crispy, fresh. Holy smokes.
Whether it's Darius Davis, and forgive me, there might have been another player who was run on a sweep that's just eluded me. But either way, we're looking, it might have been Darius Shepherd or something like that, or one of these.
Might be right.
But either way, I thought across this preseason, I've never seen it look this effective. And it might be more a function of the other play calls so that the defense really isn't expecting it. Whereas the lack of creativity generally in Lombardi's scheme, defenses didn't have to prepare for a whole lot. And they're probably like, look, maybe one snap every 3 weeks, they're going to go with this fucking jet sweep to Bandy or Guyton. So let's just get ready for it. So I don't know. I think jet sweeps might actually work. It helps having a guy who can run like a 10-second 100. But, the operation looks clean.
Very clean, very crisp handoff. Darius Shepherd was the guy you were thinking of. In the bin, got one there. Yeah, I did want to speak about Darius Davis' addition to
the hoop, swish from the 3.
You've been warned before about basketball chat.
No more basketball chat. Swish.
If you'd watched another game, you could talk about it.
Yep.
The Darius Davis, what he adds to the offense, he's already shown good chemistry with Stick, more so than Duggan. Duggan's thrown 5 balls. But yeah, those handoffs in the jet sweeps, and his ability to get speed to the outside and then recognize the hole and make that cut and go is
amazing.
not something I've ever really seen. Everything that was Travis Benjamin was just, here's my arc, I'm going to run around on it, and if I get hit, I get hit. And there's no like conscious, there's no spatial awareness to be able to elude anything on that. So I'm just seeing so much more diversity in our run game, in our offense. Enjoyment in the run game from the guys, from the blockers and from the runners, playing to our strengths. It's really positive stuff on offense. Like I said, defensively, Derek Ansley called the plays, and I think he did a pretty good job.
Yep.
Their first string offense was walking down the field, but like I said, our second string D forced the goal line fumble, and you got to get across that line to score. So it doesn't matter how good you look in the lead up. We got it done. Yeah, deserved the game ball. I was a bit surprised that Staley let that kind of happen. He strikes me as a bit of a closeted control freak, the sort of not let his friends play with his toys kind of guy. But they're good friends, and he recognised he's been a defensive coordinator, I think, in the college realm before. So good on him. What did you see from any of the players, apart from Henley? We've spoken about him, of course. Guys running around making a mess. What do you think?
I liked seeing Leonard get a chance on Ayuk. I know he lost one, but there were a couple where the coverage was actually close. So, like, Leonard gave up 2 big catches. One, it might have been Chris Conley or something like that. Yes.
Yeah,
so
Conley.
He gave up
Yep.
a 34-yard completion and a 35-yard completion. But the other 5 times he was targeted, were all incomplete. And he also recovered that fumble, went in there, stuck his face in the fan, as they like to say, and picked up the football. So
Missing the fan.
Dean Leonard he's looked good all off season. One thing to be just mindful of, I thought the run defense wasn't as good this week. I thought compared to the first 2 games, I thought between Tyrion Davis-Price and Jordan Mason, they looked in control. Davis-Price had 10 carries for 61. Jordan Mason had 9 carries for 59. That looked back to the old days. I thought Moa struggled. Clark had his moments where he didn't look as good. Hinton really struggled. So, Niners are up there with the best in terms of their run scheme. Back to earth again in terms of the run defense. So, something we need to focus on.
Yeah, definitely an improvement of opposition on both sides of the ball, week by week.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think it was maybe we just rested the second stringers a little more, and then the David Mowers got run over a little bit. There's nothing more from me. I thought special teams was super tight again. We've really improved and tightened up on our penalties as well.
Amazing, man.
Like, holy smokes, when we're like 1 penalty for 10 yards and the opposition's 7 for 85 or something like that, it's years gone by, it's the shoe's on the other foot completely. So that's really good stuff to see discipline trickling its way through even the backups. It's fantastic.
This sums it up. Never seen a preseason like this. If you're looking just at like PFF grading, these are all the categories where through the preseason the Chargers finished in the top 10. Overall, they were 6th. Pass blocking, 10th. Running the ball, 2nd. Run blocking, 8th. Defense, 9th. Run defense, 9th. Coverage, 8th. Special teams, 1st. So
Ridiculous.
that's top 10 in all of those areas. The only ones that, I've got to tell the other side of the coin. Passing was 29th and receiving was 28th. So obviously the team focused on running the ball. But I mean, that is so many top 10 areas for the preseason. Depth on the team looks great.
Yep. Agree with you. Real fun. All right. Well, let's look around the league to finish off with, mate. We've got a week off ahead of us. I'll get into ramping up the promo for next week show after we do this. Just some stuff. Let's just talk about some stuff.
Sure.
That's just been revving us up, that we're bringing that love back for football. Things that are exciting you. They might be a team, a player. What have you got? Start us off, mate.
Nothing gets me more excited than watching Tua throw a horrible pick. And the first kind of throw of his preseason was one of the worst interceptions you'll ever see against the Texans. I think he threw it to Denzel Perryman. JT O'Sullivan, who runs one of the best YouTube channels out there called the QB School, showed it a number of times. No idea what Tua was seeing. Like the linebacker just dropped back off the play action, rolling to his left, and he just threw it into double coverage. No one, like, bad stuff. So they're our opponent week 1. They're struggling with some injury stuff. That's what I love to see. What about you, mate?
Yeah. Good vibes. I like it. I'm going to stay in-house for my first one and praise the recognition of either sense of or error by cutting quarterback Max Duggan. Years past, drafting, then cutting a player, like I said earlier, in the same offseason was just unheard of. He'll clear waivers, you'd have to imagine, given what he's put on tape in his 5 passes and looking terrified, to be perfectly honest. Real deer in headlights stuff. Put on the big boy pants and they went up to his armpits. I don't really know if it's a good thing to have him as the insurance or as the sole insurance. So, yeah, good on the team for making that business call and doing that. I like it.
Bad luck, Duggan. I'll stay in-house too. I'll go bromance between Brandon Staley and Kellen Moore. And Peter King had this video, formerly of Sports Illustrated, now with NBC. He'd been allowed in the room with Kellen Moore going through some practice film. Brandon Staley was there, and you just get this kind of real sense that the two like each other a lot and that this is going to be a happy marriage. Thought Peter King was a bit weird.
Weird.
He was like, "Hey, Kellen, what do you like about Justin Herbert? Like, is he good? Is he a good guy? Is he a smart quarterback? Like, what makes it such a great throw?" And then he just holds up. He asks a question, then he holds up his phone this close to Kellen Moore's face to take a little still frame of him, and Kellen Moore just like completely ignores him and just answers it. That would have thrown me. That would have ruined the whole interview for me. I would have been like, "What is this clown doing?"
You would have been praying for internet issues.
None of that this week.
Disconnect.
It's all tidied up. Hey, I don't want to jinx it, but yes, Staley and Moore could be the best offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator combination that the Chargers have had since yesteryear. So let's go.
Yeah, it's a good one. My next little excitement, small sample space, of course, preseason, opposition, etc. I had this guy listed as one of my I Love You Mans in one of our draft preview shows. I think I went with someone else, but this he was definitely one that caught my eye. He went at number 63 overall in the second round to Denver, and Marvin Mims Jr. is showing some pretty awesome stuff throughout the preseason. He's a fast guy. He hauled in an incredible 50-yard throw from Stidham against the Rams. So, yeah, it's the Rams. I could really grow to hate to love this guy, but we'll see. That's an exciting one.
I love the angle you've taken there, confirming your priors, because we're only going to talk about guys who've played well in the preseason if we pump them up during the pre-draft process. They're the only ones you're going to hear about.
That's right.
And for me, there are a few. There's Quan Martin, who we talked about being a I love you man kind of guy, cornerback for Illinois, and now for the Washington Commanders. Had an excellent interception during week 2. Tyjae Spears, who we both really enjoyed, the running back for the Titans. He led the NFL preseason with 4.73 yards after contact per rush. So he looks like a nice foil there to
For the
Derrick
King.
Henry for the King. And the last one that I'll end on, my favorite quarterback coming out in his class that people, they cooled on was Sam Howell, the North Carolina Tar Heel. And he's gone from 5th rounder, one of the kind of most disappointing, awkward falls on draft day imaginable. One time the year before, he had a possibility of being a number 1 overall pick. Slides to the 5th round, and now he's the bona fide starter. And I thought he did well. He ended the Ravens' preseason 24-game win streak as part of that Commander charge, and he just looks fun. They're kind of Baker Mayfield vibes. He's strong. He throws the ball down the field. So go, Sam Howell. Hope you have a great year for Washington.
Yeah, I'll just double down on that Washington victory over Baltimore. It was, I think it was Sam Cosme's chat about the record. The classic O-line chat. That was real good. Check it out if you haven't seen it. This is a bit of a fun one for me because I really don't love the team, but I've always been a big Aaron Rodgers guy. I've got close association. Shout out to my my cousin Dan, who's a big Packers guy. So I've watched a lot of Packers with him in the past, and he's headed over to Jersey. He's taken all his mates. He's got secret handshakes with his rookie teammates at 100 years old.
Oh, aren't they
The old
good?
fingers to the joint, and then puts the joint out, I think, on Bryce Hall's arm. It was good gear. That's a nod to Matt Stafford, whose wife came out and mentioned that he's really struggling to connect with his younger teammates. And I'll just tangent and say that I reckon Sean McVay will see that. And this could be like a little whisper in the wind for Matt Stafford, maybe not spending the whole year with the LA Rams. I digress. He's
Bit of
still
tank
talking
for
trash
Caleb
on
here.
Hey?
A bit of tank for Caleb, perhaps.
Maybe. What a way to finish my sentence there. Aaron Rodgers. No, I was being serious.
Okay.
Well, it's the cascade, isn't it? You know, get rid of your quarterback, lose a bunch of games with. We played against them, and I can't even remember. Oh, Stetson Bennett. Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Stetson Bennett.
Threw a couple of picks last week, did you? Oh, nice one. Rodgers still talking trash on the field. It's going to be fun to watch whatever happens at the Jets this year. I haven't watched Hard Knocks yet, but I've heard that there's a bit of bullshit inside the walls there. So, you know, the inner lurkings might change my mind, but still a Rodgers fan. Yeah, you stay there. You're not coming.
Love it.
You got one more?
I'm out of cutlery. Wrong seg.
I also think that the AFC North is going to be a really tight division. The Pickett's to Pickens is.
Yeah.
I heard Mark Sessler last week, I think, on around the NFL refer to them as like the prime candidate for the August champions, which made me laugh. But I'm on the train. I just want to see that
week one
division
matchup, man, against
absolutely.
the 49ers. That's going to be good.
Well, that's the thing. Al and I, we always do a yearly getaway for week
Pilgrimage.
1 and the pilgrimage, and this year will be no different. The highlight reel of those two playing, the connections, the catch that Pickens makes, it's plus their opposition. You know, playing against the Steelers, they won the curtain raising honors on the Monday morning pre-Chargers Dolphins. But, you know, that AFC North, even if Watson's half useful in Cleveland, that's going to be a tight division. And it's always dirty physical football. That'll just about do us. Like I said earlier, stick around to the end because next week is the big number 50, TDU's 50th episode. So we're going to do some classically silly gear. Yeah, raise your bat if you've got one. We're going to do some classically silly gear, have a bit of fun. Don't miss it. One of us has a 32-man QB ranking, and we're all going to have a bit of fun with it. So thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week for episode 50. Party poppers, all the stuff. Enjoy your week off football. It's coming. See you next time on the Thunder Down Under podcast.
Backpedals looking, firing. He's got Floyd turning. Got it. Zigzag. 10, 5, high step. Touchdown. San Diego.
Woo! Good night! Good night to all!